Something's going on apparently in England right now. I think the deadline for a Brexit deal is in October 31st.
And what they want to make sure is that he will not do a no-deal Brexit if they go to election.
Let me just explain to what a no-deal Brexit is in as sort of as basic terms as possible. It is basically England leaving the EU without any type of trade deal or arrangement as to what will happen. And
that is important.
You know, I don't know if the idea is that it gets us more leverage or less leverage, and by us I mean the British, or if it's like we're gonna go come hell or high water, and they need us more than we need them, or But you need these structures. It's a problem. People are worried about it, and it's unclear to me what. I just don't understand it enough, to be honest with you, what Boris Johnson's strategy was. But he seems to have destroyed the Conservative Party for the most part. I don't know, but it remains to be seen. But they have a thing called the AMQ, right? This is the ask the PMQs, Prime Minister's questions, right? And I got AM on my mind, and. They got the Prime Minister,
AM Quickie, Mr. Prime Minister. I have a question. Hello? Hi. Do you hate the South, Mr. Prime Minister?
Anyways, the PMQ, and that's a lot of fun to see Boris Johnson being excoriated on the floor of Parliament. Let's start with this one. And it's not just in regards to... I think the idea is just that Boris Johnson's seen as weak now, and so that there may be a little bit more willingness to call him out. Oh, they do this I know they do this all the time, but this seems to be pretty dramatic. This is a member of Parliament in the House of Commons, Tanmanjeet Singh Dhesi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
And he's from Hull, and he's Labour.
And he's a Labour guy from Hull. And here he is. For those who are, and this happens to Sikhs all around the world. And there was actually this week, I saw a video of, and I'm not sure, it was in Canada. And I don't know exactly what the context was. It seemed to be some type of event. And there was a Sikh lawmaker there who was being attacked by a Canadian guy, as if the Sikh was Muslim and he was attacking Muslims. And the Sikh never, this lawmaker never said, "Hey, buddy, I'm a Sikh. I'm not a Muslim." He, which he certainly could have done, but he basically, sort of just defended, was very, protective of Muslim rights.
Two quick things. That yes, lawmaker and brother of Jagmeet Singh, who's the leader of the NDP.
So there you
significant.
go. Yeah.
And he's from Slough, not Hull. Apologies. Dhesi is from Slough, not Hull.
But here is Dhesi telling Boris Johnson to apologize for what's going on in this country.
Mr. Speaker, if I decide to wear a turban, or you decide to wear a cross, or he decides to wear a kippah or a skull cap, or she decides to wear a hijab or a burqa, does that mean that it is open season for right honourable members of this House to make derogatory and divisive remarks about our appearance? For those of us who from a young age have had to endure and face up to being called names such as Towelhead or Taliban or coming from Bongo land, we can appreciate full well the hurt and pain felt by already vulnerable Muslim women when they are described as looking like bank robbers and letterboxes. So rather than hide behind sham and whitewash investigations, when will the Prime Minister finally apologise for his derogatory and racist remarks, Mr. Speaker, which have led to a spike in hate crime. And given the increasing prevalence of such incidents within his party, when will the Prime Minister finally order an inquiry into Islamophobia within the Conservative Party, something which he and his Chancellor promised on national television?
Let's hear the answer. The Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker,
Order. The response from the Prime Minister will be heard. The Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, can I just say to the honourable gentleman that if he took the trouble to read the article in question, he would see that it was a strong liberal defence, as he began his question by saying, of everybody's right to wear whatever they want in this country. And I speak as somebody who is not only proud to have Muslim ancestors, but to be related to Sikhs such as himself. And I'm also proud, Mr. Speaker, to say that under this government we have the most diverse cabinet in the history of this country. And we truly reflect modern Britain.
Yeah, well, so he didn't apologize.
No. Blah, 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 blah.
Here is another moment from the PMQ. Jeremy Corbyn is there talking about the danger of a no-deal Brexit, and that the Brexit negotiations have been basically a sham. Now, I'm not sure why Boris Johnson or the Conservatives want a no-deal Brexit. Maybe because it's just sort of the safest thing for them politically. I'm not sure. I really don't understand the dynamics here. But here is Jeremy Corbyn.
I really fail to see how I can be accused of undermining negotiations, because no negotiations are taking place. He's been Prime Minister for 6 weeks and he promised to get Brexit sorted. In 6 weeks, he's presented nothing to change the previous Prime Minister's deal, which he twice voted against. These negotiations that he talks about are a sham. All he's doing is running down the clock. At the weekend, the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster said food prices will go up under no deal. Will the Prime Minister publish the Yellowhammer documents so that people can see which food prices will go up and by how much?
Mr. Speaker, the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster said absolutely no such thing. I can tell him that preparations for no deal, thanks to his good offices and thanks to his efforts, are very far advanced. But I tell you, the surest way
of getting
2 weeks. No deal is to undermine this country's ability to negotiate, which is what he is doing.
Well, I was listening to Glenn Beck on Dave Rubin's show yesterday, and apparently the conservative line on this is that Corbyn is undermining him because they want to look as if they really do want a no-deal Brexit, but they really don't want one. But
who wants to look like they do want?
Boris says they'll only give us something if they think we're crazy enough to do it. Glenn Beck specifically mentioned you want to look like a guy with a twitchy eye.
Oh, I see.
No, that's the whole
the madman theory of trade negotiations.
No, that's the whole joke.
We're going to blow ourselves up. It literally is it's literally one of those things where the madman is holding the gun. Is oh, you think I'm crazy? You think I'm crazy? How's this for crazy? And then shoots themselves in the head. I mean, the idea that they are staking out a bargaining position of no deal, what's the leverage? What's the leverage that England has that they want to be basically this lone island without any trade avenues or platform with all the countries that are within close proximity to them?
Well, that was the amazing thing, is that they actually had the best deal imaginable because they weren't on the euro.
Right.
So they had all of the advantages without any of the disadvantages of not being able to set their own monetary policy. So it was just not very bright.
Not good.
Not good.
Very bright.
All right. Lastly, we have one more clip from the PMQ. Here is
would the Prime Minister agree? Hello?
Labour MP Vernon Coker gets up and basically hands it to Boris Johnson et al.
Prime Minister yesterday booted out 21 MPs from his own party for voting against a reckless no-deal Brexit. These included very well-respected members of this House, including a former Chancellor, including Churchill's grandson, and the father of the House, presumably on the orders of his Chief of Staff. Given that the Prime Minister himself voted against the former Prime Minister's deal without losing the whip, does this not show and demonstrate to the British public his view of life? Namely, one rule for him and one rule for everyone else.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to take any lectures from anybody in the Labour Party about how they run their party. Look, this is a party where MPs, good, hard-working MPs, are daily hounded out by anti-Semitic mobs. Let's be absolutely clear. If the Right Honourable Gentleman is actually interested in democracy, if he's interested in democracy, then I hope he's been listening to what I've been saying today. In an anti-democratic way, the bill before the House today would hand over this country's right to decide how long to remain in the EU, and it would hand it over to the EU itself. That's what that bill involves. If he thinks that's a good idea, then let him submit it to the judgment of the British people in an election.
I mean, this canard of anti-Semitism is the way that it's been wielded. Oh, Republicans are doing it too. I mean, to a large extent in this country too. I mean, I think there has been some singularity that has been created in terms of the right in the world, and there we see it in Johnson. We don't know what his fate, or I mean, I wouldn't even, I can't even begin to guess what's going on over there. Frankly, I can barely tell what's going on over here.